Hey everyone, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I am McKinley412, and today we're going to be looking at the 14-game main slate on DraftKings. It was a 15-game slate, but the game in Tampa Bay has been postponed due to the incoming tropical storm. The Miami game is still on, but make sure you're paying attention to that, as well as the weather in New York with the Mets game and Minnesota game, because there is a little bit of rain threatening those ones as well. Other than that, not too much that we have to be worried about at the moment, but as always, keep up to the minute with any of those pop-up summer storms that might happen. Right up at the top here, Jacob DeGrom, 11.5K, easily the number one option on the slate, best pitcher in baseball, and has a fantastic matchup going against a Milwaukee team that strikes out a lot. You can see here, he is right back into full form in that he doesn't have limited pitches. The injuries kind of have seemed to be behind him now. So DeGrom, clear number one option. I don't know how you can fade him in cash games and GPP. There's a lot of other great options on the slate, but for cash, DeGrom, I'm going to be plugging him in as SP1. I think there's plenty of value on this slate. We'll talk about the value bets later on, that you're going to be able to fit him in comfortably. Rodon, he's a fine pitcher. I'm not too interested in him because I do like Aaron Nola and his spot here better. Aaron Nola, his ceiling games, the past two games have kind of shown, his strikeout ceiling games, his past two games kind of show what he's capable of. And he's going up against Chicago, who, again, they strike out a lot. And they've really been struggling to hit the ball lately. It's going to be hot in Wrigley today. The wind's going to be blown out. It's going to be kind of like yesterday, not as much, but yesterday saw 7 home runs. But Chicago still only Chicago only scored 3 runs. They're still struggling to produce. So Aaron Nola, I think, is in line for another ceiling game, at least for the strikeouts. And look at this. He can easily post in the mid-30s when he's on his game in a nice matchup. So I think Chicago Cubs could gather some ownership just because of the weather conditions, but I think Nola can make for a fine GPP play here. Might be one of my favorite GPP pivots on the slate. Bassett and Valdez, nice pitchers, but in tough matchups, not interested. Same with Kelly. Eovaldi, he's in nice form, but he is going up against a tough Angels offense. So a little bit pricier than I would like, but I think if I'm going in this range, I'm going to be paying down a little bit more. I do like that mid 8K range a lot more for pitchers. But Eovaldi, I'm not saying he's a complete fade, but I think you can do better there. Anderson, top guy here in this mid range. For safety, he's got a great floor. He's got a great matchup going up against Pittsburgh. He faced Pittsburgh earlier on in the season, put up 26 DraftKings points. It doesn't matter if he's at home or if he's away. He's got a solid floor. He's going to give you a nice floor. He limits damage. He's got a 50% ground ball rate. So while Pittsburgh doesn't strike out much as a team, I still think Anderson is a great play in this mid-tier range that you can pair with DeGrom just fine. Castillo, same deal. I think he's in a great spot here. You can kind of see his strikeouts have gone up. His floor has shot up. He's become a pitcher that we can start to trust again. Earlier on this season, it was just littered with negative scores and single-digit scores, but seems to have finally figured it out. So going up against Kansas City, a Kansas City team that strikes out a lot against right-handed pitching. So at 8.5K, I think he can be paired with DeGrom. And again, I like this mid 8K range a lot. So Anderson, Castillo, Ohtani, he's got the ceiling, but his floor is also in the basement. We saw that in his last start out with going up against New York and the Yankees, who just wrecked him. I think it was like 7-0 in the first inning. Didn't even make it out of the first inning. 7 didn't even make it out. So Ohtani, He's got the ceiling, he's got the floor. Tough matchup against Boston. I prefer Anderson or Castillo over him, but if you're doing multiple lineups in the GPP, sure, go for it. Wainwright, again, he's doing really well this season, but in a tough matchup against San Francisco. Going on down here, Dunning going up against Detroit. Dunning, 7.4K, a little bit higher than he has been all season long here, but he's got 24% strikeout rate. Going up against Detroit, not a great offense, but they haven't been terrible either. So I think, he's a fine option if you get down to this level here. I don't think that you really need to. Again, there's lots of value on this slate, and I'll get to that later once we talk about the bats. But if you do land down here, Dunning, I don't mind at all. John Gray, kind of same thing. But TAILLON, I think he's worth taking a risk here. He's kind of like the Ohtani in that he can do really well, or he can do just absolutely terrible. You don't know which one you're going to get here. But he does have a favorable matchup going up against Seattle. 7.2K. Again, if you land in this range, great. I think these are the three guys that you want to be paying attention to: Dunning, Gray, and TAILLON. But if you don't go down here, totally fine as well. I don't think they're guys that I'm going to be, or they're not. They're not going to be guys that I'm going to be I need to be targeting them in my lineup at all. Everybody else is just pass for me. So DeGrom, Nola, Eovaldi, he's fine, just a little bit pricey. I love this mid-range: Anderson, Castillo, Wainwright, Ohtani, maybe even. And then once you get down here, it's Gonsolin, or Dunning, Gray, TAILLON. Gonsolin, he's got a great strikeout rate, but he only goes like 3 innings every single start. So until they let him go deeper into the game, I'm not interested at 7.6K. So there's that. Let's look to the bats here. I'm just going to kind of go through here the different games. I'm not too interested in the bats. If I would, I'd go at the Atlanta lefties, guys like Freddie Freeman. I think would be in a great spot going up against Cool. You know what I'm going to do, actually? I'm going to throw in DeGrom, and I'm going to throw in, I'll throw in Anderson as well, just so we can kind of play with salary as I'm talking about the bats here. So let's have those covered in here. So Toronto. Toronto is in a smash spot going up against Kramer. I think this is the 3rd straight start for Kramer where he's playing against Toronto. But the Toronto bats are just so expensive. Let's see Kramer, how he's done against Toronto. I think one he did very well, one he got shelled. Yeah, one he did well. Next time out against Toronto, he got shelled. So 3rd time, what's it going to be? He's been on both extremes. But the Toronto bats are just so expensive. It's going to be nearly impossible to stack them unless you drop down from DeGrom and go to a Castillo Anderson sort of pitching combo. Because if you do this and you try to stack some of these Toronto bats, so we'll throw in Tasker, we'll just throw in whoever here. We'll throw in Bichette, kind of the more expensive guys. But even just throwing 2 of them in, you're down to 3.1K for the rest of your entire lineup. It's going to be difficult. So I think a big Toronto stack is not going to be very owned, even though they're in an absolute smash spot tonight. Just because the pricing is so difficult with all the top pitchers that are going on this slate. So if you want to be different, have a major Toronto stack. But it looks like you're going to have to do, if you want Toronto bats, you're going to be doing a one-off, 2 at the most. But other side of this game, I think Baltimore, they're in another nice spot, and they come in a lot cheaper. Matz is going for Toronto. This is his 2nd start off his COVID absence. First start, he only won 40 pitches or something. So he's not going deep into the games. I don't expect him to go only 40 pitches this time, maybe 60 to 75, 60 to 70. But I don't think he's going to get a full leash either here. So then we're going to see a Toronto bullpen who we have been picking on a lot lately just because of how bad some of those guys have been. And you can kind of see these Baltimore bats are pretty cheap. If I am targeting the Baltimore bats, I'm looking at guys like Hayes, Mullins, Mancini, obviously. But guys like Santander, he's cheap. Severino, 2.6K. These are all guys that I would definitely be targeting. Look, you're at 4.4K remaining. Obviously, no fun when you jam all your outfield from the same team, but correlation, sure. Mancini's obviously also in play, Mountcastle, but these are kind of the guys that I would be highlighting for Baltimore, and cheap. They can really get you what you want. Let's take out Baltimore. Moving on through the games here. Dodgers, Miami, not too interested in that game. Same with this one here. I do like Philly going up against Arrieta. Like I said, it's going to be hot in Chicago. Wind's going to be blowing out a little bit. It's not going to be as extreme as yesterday, but Philly still put up 13 runs yesterday with a lot of home runs. Segura here, he's just way too cheap. He's still too cheap. Even if you just want to do a one-off of Segura for some value, totally fine with it. He's absolutely smashing right-handed pitching lately. He's too cheap here. Harper, obviously, we'd be going with him as well. It's probably going to be Real Muto, but look at the prices on these guys. They're not expensive given the pitching matchup and giving the weather matchup as well. So even with a guy like Harper in there, I'm at 3.6 remaining for my bats. So Philly, I think they're a nice play. Chicago, while the weather is nice, I don't trust them, especially going up against NOLA. I can't trust them there. Detroit, Texas, next game. I'd lean more towards the Texas bats, the lefties there, but not too interested. Oakland, Houston, same deal. Great offenses, good to great offenses, but going up against two stud pitchers, I just don't have any interest in this game here. Cincinnati, absolutely one of the top plays. Again, Castellanos, for sure. His price is finally going up. DK finally figured it out that they need to price him up, especially going up against left-handed pitching, where he almost hits 400 against on the season. Give me all the Castellanos. Winker really struggles against left-handed pitching, so I'm not too on him at his price tag there. Check out on India. He's day to day. He got pulled late scratched yesterday, so make sure you're paying attention to him. But I do like that. Farmer, same deal. I wish Farmer would be higher up in the batting order, but 3.4K, can't go too wrong there. Barnhart, they got some nice plays here, but Castellanos, the clear number one. I think Cincinnati's going to do well. It's just a matter of, can you fit their prices into your lineup? Chicago White Sox would be my target in this game here. Make sure you're checking the rain. Berrios, he's a solid pitcher, but he got destroyed by the same White Sox team his last start out. And with a lot of injuries, we've been seeing the Chicago White Sox value come back. Guys like Goodwin at sub 3K. Vaughn is back down to sub 3K. Sheets at 2.5K. You throw these three guys in, you're at 4.4 remaining for the rest of your for your lineup. So Chicago White Sox, excellent value with these three guys here. Minnesota side, no interest. Boston, LA, good offenses, but going up against decent pitching. If you want to do a Boston stack going up against Ohtani and hoping for one of his absolute collapse games, I think you're going to get low ownership on them. Let me go to hitters. I think you're going to get low ownership on them, but again, it's going to be tough to fit in the price of these bats here. So even if you throw in one of the top guys here, Verdugo, lefty, hey, Arroyo's back. He's cheap. So, maybe it's not impossible. So maybe a Boston stack, I think, could be a way to separate yourself from the field here. Colorado, Arizona, no interest. Same with St. Louis, San Fran. Maybe the same. No. GPP, just because I'm saying no here, it doesn't mean that they're a total absolute fade play. It's a 14-game slate. There's many ways to go. I'm just kind of giving you the highlights here. San Diego, Washington, it's kind of like a bullpen game, but I do think Washington has some excellent value. I know Weathers, he's not the worst pitcher, and the San Diego bullpen is elite, but still, Turner, 6.4K, just way too expensive. outside of Soto and Bell. But look, you got everybody else on Washington is under 3K. So Ian Gomes and Castro would be the two guys that I would target. Ian Gomes against left-handed pitching this season is hitting over 360. 360 on the season against left-handed pitching, and he's sub 3K. Castro hitting 348, also sub 3K. So there is a lot of value on this slate to be had. So Ian Gomes, Castro, Segura for Philadelphia. I'm not going to search through all of them. Segura for Philadelphia. Guys on Chicago White Sox like Sheets and Vaughn and Goodwin. Baltimore, guys like Hayes, just way too cheap. Santander even, too cheap. Severino, he's a nice play at 2.6K. There's lots and lots of value that you can go on this slate, but there's also a lot of stud offenses as well. So that kind of wraps things up. I know it was a little longer video than normal, but 14-game slate, I wanted to cover it all. As always, hit that subscribe button, thumbs up. We really do appreciate it. It does help us out in providing all this free content for you guys. Make sure you stop by tomorrow. It looks like there's going to be an early slate and a main slate. And we do cover those early slates as well and provide YouTube videos for those. So make sure you come back tomorrow. We'll have videos for that. As always, good luck in your contest tonight, and we will see you in the next video.